Welcome to the Discovery of Cells video. In this video, we will explore 3 learning goals. The first is understanding that cells are the fundamental units of structure and function in all living things. The second learning goal is to identify components of the cell theory and their historical significance. And the last learning goal is to discover the major differences between animal cells and plant cells. We first start with identifying what a cell is. Cells form the parts of an organism and carry out all of an organism's processes or functions. For example, your skin cells cover and protect your body from injury, infection, and water loss. Blood cells carry oxygen to the rest of the body, and nerve cells conduct electrical impulses. When you describe the structure of an organism, you describe what it is made of and how the parts are put together. The structure of a building is determined by the way the bricks, steel beams, and other materials are arranged. The structure of living things is determined by the amazing ways in which cells are put together. An oak tree, for example, consists of cells arranged to form a trunk, stems, and leafy branches. A frog's cells make up the body with a head and 4 legs. An organism's functions are the processes that enable it to stay alive and reproduce. Some functions in organisms include getting rid of waste, obtaining oxygen, and growing. One characteristic of cells are that they are usually microscopic or too small to see without a microscope. Another characteristic of cells is that they are numerous. A human is made of millions of cells. However, some organisms like bacteria are made of only 1 cell. Congratulations! You have now completed learning goal number 1. The second learning goal we will explore will take us back in history to the 17th century. We will meet the key people who studied cells and contributed to the cell theory. The first scientist is Robert Hooke. Hooke lived in the 1600s and built his own microscopes using 2 lenses. He used his microscope to look at cork. What he saw looked like small rooms to him, and so he named these small rooms cells. When a microscope has 1 lens, we call it a simple microscope. A 2-lens microscope is known as a compound microscope. Another man who looked at cells using a microscope he built himself was Anton van Leeuwenhoek. He used a small, simple microscope to look at pond water, saliva, and many other things. Some of what he saw were unicellular protists. He called these organisms that moved and resembled small animals animalcules. After Hooke and Leeuwenhoek described the cells they looked at, other scientists started studying the characteristics of cells and where cells came from. 3 of these scientists were German. Their names are Theodor Schwann, Matthias Schleiden, and Rudolf Virchow. Their work contributed to the cell theory. The cell theory is an explanation of what cells are and where they come from. Theories may come from observations, and theories may be tested. Matthias Schleiden studied plant cells, lots of plant cells. He concluded that plants are made of cells, and that cells could only come from other plant cells and not from animal cells. Theodor Schwann read Schleiden's work and liked it so much he decided to do the same thing, but with animal cells. His conclusion was that animals are also made of cells, and that animal cells only come from other animal cells. Rudolf Virchow combined the work of Schleiden and Schwann. Virchow concluded that new cells can only come from other living cells that already exist. New animal cells come from existing animal cells. Let's take another look at what the cell theory says. We now are confident, thanks to the work of Hooke, van Leeuwenhoek, Virchow, and others, that all living things are made of cells. We now know that cells are the basic building block of all living things, and new cells can only come from pre-existing cells. Congratulations! You have now completed learning goal number 2. The last learning goal we will explore will compare animal cells to plant cells. Look at the plant and animal cell cartoons pictured here. What do you notice about their shape? What do you notice about the structures that make up each type of cell? Animal cells are shaped differently than plant cells, aren't they? Animal cells are rounder and more irregular in shape. However, plant cells are more rectangular and boxy in shape. You know that plants do not move and must stand up straight in many cases, but animals must be able to move freely and so cannot have a boxy shape. Another key difference between a plant cell and an animal cell is the structures each cell contains. Plant and animal cells contain cytoplasm, a nucleus, and a cell membrane. But plants also have chloroplast and a cell wall. Now look at the labeled plant and animal cell diagrams. Find the nucleus that contains the DNA in each type of cell. The cell wall surrounds the plant cell just like brick walls surround Nipher. Both cells have a flexible cell membrane that allows things to pass in and out of the cell. The cytoplasm is the watery substance of the cell where the other structures may be found. And the green energy-making factories of the plant cells are called chloroplasts. Congratulations! You have now completed Learning Goal 3 and are ready to continue your exploration of cells in the science laboratory.